Hello, and welcome to J. Kerner for Astrology. In today's video, we'll be covering the new moon in Aries and spring equinox on Tuesday, March 21st, 2023. This Aries season, we have two new moons in Aries. The first is on Tuesday, March 21st at 1:23 p.m. Eastern Standard Time at 0 degrees of Aries. This is also our spring equinox and our astrological new year. So the seeds planted under this new moon will also count for what we work towards not only the next year, but the next years to come. We will be bookending this astrological year with two new moons, both at the first critical degree of Aries and the final critical degree of Aries. I'd like to begin our exploration of the new moon in Aries by talking about Tuesday and its etymology. Tuesday is Mars Day. It comes from the Old English Tues dog, meaning Tuesday, Tu being the Germanic god of sky and war. In Norse, this was Tyr. In Latin, this translates to Dies Martis, Mars's day, Mars being the Roman god of war. In French, Mardi. In Spanish, Martes. In Italian, Martedi. Numerology for Tuesday, March 21st. The numbers 1, 2, 3 and 3, 2, 1 in numerology both signify signs of courage and encouragement that you're on the right direction and that new beginnings and exciting new starts are on their way to you. The 3, March being the third month, and the day 2 plus 1 add up to 3. So two powerful forms of 3 right there. The Enneagram number 3 really captures the numerology of 3 very well, and you can find some patterns in both Gemini and Aries. Very quick, at times impatient or impulsive, wants to get the job done. It's very driven, it's very ambitious. With the Enneagram number 3, I like to think where there's a will, there's a way. And I also like to think of that karmic number 13, where if we do cut corners, we'll face instant karma for cutting corners, especially for things like lying or dishonesty. It is ruled by Mars, and it rules over various parts of the body affecting the head, the brain, the adrenal glands, the blood, the arteries, etc. It rules over our first house and our ascendant, which rules over our persona, our personality, the most surface level of our personality or the mask we wear, the energy that people perceive from us, especially upon first impression, but it may not necessarily be aligned with who we truly are. This time of year is associated with the flower Narcissus. So is Aries energy, the flower Narcissus, and the beginning of spring. The ruling flower for Aries is Narcissus, and I wanted to share this because it's another important symbol of spring and the spring equinox. Where I live in the northern hemisphere, daffodils, or Narcissus, are one of the first flowers of spring to emerge in March, sometimes late February these days. Now, the flower got its name for an old Greek myth about Narcissus and Echo. Narcissus told the story of a very vain young man who was gifted, blessed, if you will, with God-given beauty, but he was warned by a soothsayer never to look in his reflection. So he carried on his way, he lived his life, rejecting every suitor who would present themselves, reserving himself for only the finest match, only to fall victim and fall in love with his own reflection beside a patch of grass one day. And now he refused to leave his side, even when other young suitors came and begged him to leave the water side. He refused to leave, and there he died. From his ashes sprouted the flower Narcissus. For more information or another version of that story, I wanted to link to you Candace Owens' version, which she ties to a cultural theme of narcissism, which is very Saturn and Pisces, through themes of narcissistic self-pity, victim playing, and an overall over-identification with that victim identity and mentality. Victim, villain, and messiah can all be the same person. On the positive, Aries can be independent, pioneering, and entrepreneurial, energetic, forceful, assertive, athletic, courageous, outgoing, dynamic, and adventurous, competitive, determined, and ambitious, a natural leader. Negative, Aries can be my way or the highway. I do what I want when I want. Selfish, narcissistic, arrogant, and domineering, impulsive, impatient, and immature. Short-fused, often to the point of violence, intolerant of others, hot-headed, and stubborn. Aries as something that rams forward without really thinking or taking the time to lay a plan, and not necessarily in a negative way. They're not held back by anything. Before we dive into the nitty-gritty of the new moon in Aries, let's take a little review of our recent astrological history. On February 20th, 2023, we had our new moon in Pisces. On March 2nd and 3rd, we had Jupiter, Chiron, and Venus all conjunct in Aries. On March 7th, we had our full moon go, halfway through Pisces season, and Saturn ingressing, leaving 29 degrees of Aquarius for 0 degrees of Pisces. Now here's where the planets were on Tuesday, March 7th. So as you can see, we had quite a concentration of energies in the signs of Pisces and in Aries already, setting the stage for what's to come during these new moons in the signs of Aries. So Pisces first, we had our last new moon, February 20th at 0 degrees of Pisces, an alignment of the sun and the moon there. At the time of our last full moon, March 7th, 2023, we had the Sun, Mercury, Saturn, and Neptune, all in the signs of Pisces. And as we approach 3/21, the new moon in Aries, so look what was already in Aries, Venus, the planet of what we love and value, Jupiter, our planet of luck and expansion, and Chiron, our deepest soul wounds, all very close together. Chiron at 14 degrees, Jupiter at 13 degrees in tight conjunction, with Venus having aligned with them in the sky on March 2nd and March 3rd, also in that energy field. On March 16th, Venus shifts into Taurus, where it's in one of its signs of rulership. On March 16th, Venus shifts into Taurus, where it's in one of its signs of rulership. On March 18th, Mercury left the 29th degree of Pisces and shifted into the early degrees of Aries, where it awaits the sun and moon, but also still in conjunction with Neptune at 25 degrees of Pisces. Remember on a number line that 25 degrees is still within 10 degrees of 5 degrees of the neighboring sign. So Neptune at 25 degrees of Pisces is still within 10 degrees of Mercury at 5 degrees of Aries, and the sun and moon at 0 degrees of Aries. When planets and planetary bodies are this close together in the universe, they create a concentration of energy there, and they fuse together. Today's topic, March 21st, 2023, the new moon in Aries, first day of Aries season. New moons are for manifestation and growth because they offer an alignment of luminary energies of the sun, representing our soul's expression, and the moon, our intuitive or emotional nature. This alignment allows us to set intentions for what we would like to manifest that's more aligned with our soul's true and authentic purpose. This first new moon in Aries, on Tuesday, March 21st at 1:23 p.m., is particularly special to me, aside from the synchronicity of 3/21 and 1/23, that it's my father's birthday. Let's take a moment and say happy birthday to my dad, my brother, and my doges, my dogters, Lily and Kiwi, who turned 4 on 4/4, and all the other Aries out there. It's your season. My father, my dad, my best friend, was born at the 0 degree point of Aries, meaning that he incarnated in this lifetime to learn and embody Aries for the very first time, and serving as an important guide and teacher for me along the way. So take an astrological wheel. It's a circle, 360 degrees. Divide that by 12 constellations or 12 zodiacal signs. You get 30. 0 through 29. We don't use 30. We start again at 0, etc., etc. 0 and 29 being the first and the last. The 0 degree new moon at the very beginning of the astrological wheel, which rules over our ascendant sign and first house of the most surface level of our personality, called our persona, which is how we're perceived by others who do not know us well or upon first impression. The first house includes themes of personal empowerment, autonomy, liberty, freedom, and independence, and is ruled by Aries energy. 0 degrees is the very first degree of a sign, and it's where we start our astrological and natal wheel. Real quick, a lot of you ask about this, so I want to go ahead and address it. What is a natal chart or an astrological wheel? A natal chart is essentially a screenshot of where the planetary bodies were relative to each other from the perspective of where you took your first breath, the moment you were born. Where the ascendant or rising sign is located indicates what constellation was rising on the eastern horizon at that exact moment. This is said by astrologers to represent the mask or persona that we wear, the energy people perceive from us upon first impression, but may not necessarily be aligned with our soul's authentic expression. Horoscopes and astrology are based on one's rising sign, which change every 2 hours depending on the time and place you were born. If you were basing astrology or your horoscope off of your birthday, your month, and day alone, then you are missing the entire point, as they indicate what's coming on the horizon. To ensure accuracy, I went to my local government website and ordered the long form of my birth certificate, which had the exact time on there. I caution away from using house interpretations for anything for which you don't have an exact time, as it may not be accurate. If you're curious and wanting to follow along, anywhere where you have a cluster of planetary bodies, your sun, your moon, your rising, your north node, your south node, or one of the personal planets, Mars and Venus, or the other ones not listed, Mercury, these will resonate. The more of these concentrations and the more they're involved in different aspects to one another, the more things will resonate. For an accurate or precise reading, stay with me until the end and I'll show you how to generate your own chart, or reach out to me using the email address below. This energy is brand new baby energy. It's here to learn the energy for the first time. It's a cardinal degree point indicating new beginnings. The Aries journey is the epitome of Joseph Campbell's hero or heroine's journey of self-realization and self-actualization. Trusting your gut instinct and intuition in the moment and acting on it without hesitation. Preparing for this video prompted me to look up Joseph Campbell's chart, and I was amazed to find how many Aries placements he has. If you take a closer look, you'll see he has his Sun, Mercury, Jupiter, and Mars all in the sign of Aries. Joseph Campbell has his Mercury and Jupiter conjunct at 6 degrees of Aries, also conjunct his Sun at 5 degrees, with Mars nearby at 21 degrees. It's no wonder he authored a book titled The Hero with 1,000 Faces. Aries energy makes me think of Nike and its logo. Just do it. Remember, trying and succeeding and trying and failing both offer valuable ways of learning and growing. Since we already have a few planets in Aries, it would be helpful to review them, as these energies will be amplified. We've had Jupiter in Aries May 10th, 2022 until October 28th, 2022, and then again at the end of December 20th, 2022 until May 16th, 2023. Then it'll go into Taurus for a year. So while Jupiter's in Aries, it energizes us on a personal level. It makes us make our own luck. There's an emphasis on self-sufficiency, autonomy, and independence. We have a need for learning things our way and independently. We may see an increase in self-guided learning and self-teaching, such as things through masterclass, YouTube, reading, self-help, etc. There's more assertive energy focused on our personal health, nutrition, and physical fitness, being proactive versus reactive. Increased interest in learning about the law to protect and preserve our personal liberties. A push towards self-employment and business ownership and away from dependence on others and sacrificing personal goals for the dreams of other people. On March 2nd, 2023, Jupiter, Chiron, and Venus aligned at 12 to 13 degrees of Aries. The 13th degree is a karmic degree. I've only seen a couple of astrologers address this. Yes, it will bring benefit and healing, but with Chiron there and Jupiter there, Jupiter expands where it is and Chiron is the soul wound. So it's going to show us, it's going to expand, maybe poke at our wounds, especially Venus, our self-worth and how we value ourselves. ourselves, those wounds are going to become provoked and triggered so that we can bring them into the light to heal them. So yes, it will ultimately be beneficial and lucky, but we have to do the work first. We have to earn that. Chiron has been in Aries since February 2019, and it'll be there until June 2026. In Greek mythology, Chiron was the centaur who trained Hercules, among many other heroes. Chiron represents our deepest soul wound that occurred in childhood and remains dormant within us until we bring it to consciousness and heal it later on in adulthood. Chiron and Aries themes include a core wounding related to self-worth, autonomy, independence, and personal power, human rights, and defending personal freedoms and liberties. Healed Chiron in Aries looks like loving unconditionally versus viewing love as something to be earned, asserting personal preferences in healthy, direct, and positive ways, rather than expecting others to automatically know or read your mind. Walking away from relationships the moment they become toxic, rather than staying for anyone else. Having grace with yourself and forgiving yourself when presented with a similar situation in the future, you would handle it differently. Healed Chiron in Aries looks like releasing negative self-talk and limiting thought patterns and beliefs that hold us back. We've also had Juno in Aries. So in Greek mythology, Juno was the wife of Jupiter, and both planets indicate in a chart the energy we're unconsciously attracted to that we end up committing to. You can also find clues for this in the 8th house. With the Sun, Moon, and Mercury aligned in 0 to 5 degrees of Aries, that brings us in alignment of our intuitive and emotional nature, our soul's expression, and Mercury, our logical conscious minds, all in one focused playing field with some really energized. The Sun is exalted in Aries, so this is going to be really beneficial and lucky for all of us. Remember, you have all 12 energies in your chart. These transits affect everyone, and I'm going to help explain that to you as we go, and I will pop up some educational videos along the way. Since Aries is ruled by Mars, it would be helpful to also look where Mars is. Mars is one of our deliverers of karma, along with Pluto. Mars has been in Gemini from August 2022 until March of 2023. Gemini is ruled by the planet Mercury. It's sociable, it's energetic, intellectual, curious. It has a need for freedom, and it needs to explore its curiosities. It's the messenger. It represents the power of our thoughts and words, how our words create our reality. Our words affect our emotions, which affect our behaviors, and most importantly, our reactions, which create the world we live in. Gemini energy is symbolized by the twins, representing the yin and yang of life, the duality of all things, the shadow and the light, the good and the evil, the masculine and the feminine. Gemini symbol is also represented by the Roman numeral 2, which also represents duality. When Mars is in Gemini, Mars is a cardinal fire sign, while Gemini is a mutable air sign ruled by Mercury. Since air feels fire, this makes Mars in Gemini very versatile, flexible, and adaptable, quick-witted, and quick-thinking. When imbalanced, Mars in Gemini should watch for a lack of focus or motivation, as our interests often scatter with the wind. Mars in Gemini is a common placement for people with ADHD, among other neurodiverse patterns. It's imperative for Mars in Gemini people to stick to schedules and routines that allow them to see tasks and projects through to completion. Biting off more than one can realistically chew or digest can lead to overpromising and underdelivering, and giving others the misunderstanding and impression that you are fickle or unreliable. My natal Mars is at 13 degrees of Gemini, which in numerology, 13 is a karmic debt number that really captures the energy of Mars in Gemini. Very often, people with a 13 karmic debt don't concentrate their energies in a specific direction or in a single task, but scatter their attention over many projects, none of which amount to much. A temptation with the number 13 is to take shortcuts. Easy success doesn't come often, causing regret and the desire to give up. The result is a poor self-image and the belief that one is incapable of amounting to anything. According to my natal chart, this placement indicates I may have been lazy or selfish in a previous life where everything was handed to me, and now I must learn to cultivate enough focus to see tasks through to completion. Now, I can't confirm if that's true, but I can speak to that Gemini scatterbrain energy being a theme in my life, being a Jenny of all trades and a master lesser of none, so to speak. About that sun and moon alignment at 0 degrees of Aries, with Mercury in the picture 5 degrees away, in square to Mars at 28 degrees of Gemini. And remember, Mars rules Aries energy and Mercury is ruled by Gemini and Virgo. So we'll keep an eye on how those are interplaying. The alignment of our soul's expression, the sun, with our emotional and intuitive nature, the moon, is in a challenging aspect to Mars, our planet of motivation and drive, at 28 degrees of Gemini. The squares are similar to oppositions in that they challenge us to find balance between two seemingly conflicting energies. This transit is asking us to find the balance between our desire to go after something new and challenging, and channeling the focus and drive necessary to turn our goals into reality by focusing on completing one thing at a time. Mars in Gemini has what Haley comment, I'll link that below, refers to as shiny object syndrome, and I think that captures the energy perfectly. Be mindful of things that may come up on your path to try to distract you from the ultimate goal or big picture. Find balance between speaking up about how you feel versus weaponizing your words and intellect. Watch for impatience and impulsivity along this transit. How to work with aspects. We have the sun and moon. It's a little harder to see, but each tick mark is accounted for. You could count, and 0 to 29 would all be covered, and the planets are represented in this graph form based on the directions they're spinning, directions they're traveling, and their speed relative to one another. So for example, the moon is relatively quick. It moves through each sign in 2.5 days, while the sun takes a day per tick mark. Mercury follows very closely to the sun. It's always within 45 degrees. It's always within a sign, also moving relatively quick. And then you'll have Jupiter, which stays in one sign for about a year. So you can start to see how these would develop patterns and overlays based on each planet or planetary body's orbit relative to the other planets and their orbit from our perspective here on Earth. As you can see from this diagram, these planets are all in tight conjunction with these planets, creating a focus of energy over this way. We also need to pay attention to key player Pluto at 29 degrees and Mars approaching the 29th degree of Gemini. Both Pluto and Mars are deliverers of karma. I've got a couple major focal areas for us. On the day of the new moon, 1:23 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have 1, 2, 3, Moon, Sun, and Mercury in tight alignment in the sign of Aries. That's aligning our intuitive and emotional nature with our soul's expression and our conscious logical minds. Also approaching conjunction with Jupiter and Chiron. So Jupiter expanding and providing wisdom, while Chiron is our deepest soul wound. So expanding upon our soul wounds, bringing them into the light so that we can, through conscious awareness, heal them. The beginning of Aries season, late March, early April, we've got Neptune still in conjunction with the Sun and Mercury for a few days, so really just late March. I'd say after March 27th or so, this will clear up. But Neptune, especially anyone suffering from escapist, avoidant, or addictive tendencies that have been giving into those tendencies, that fog will start to lift a little bit, allowing your conscious mind a little bit of space and distance for some clarity. That's coming soon, don't worry. Aries is ruled by Mars, so we also want to think about Mars and Gemini in square to that Neptune energy. So that is going to be very foggy, very cloudy, but once we break through that cloud, trust that your motivation is on the other side. This would be a really good time. Don't be too hard on yourself about having not gotten into those New Year's resolutions yet. This would be a really good time to create the vision board and to create the intentions, to write the goal list, and work on diving into that when Mercury is a bit deeper into Aries and helping you focus a little bit more. We do have Mars entering the sign of Cancer, where it is debilitated. Here is a chart of the current planets and planetary bodies in transit. This is hand-drawn by myself. Feel free to take a screenshot if you would like. I have highlighted in orange what would be in challenging aspect from our focal point this month, and in yellow, what will be in harmonious aspect. So, since the sun is our spotlight, we want to look at things from the sun's perspective first. All right, so we've got sun and moon and Neptune and Mercury and Jupiter all in the sign of Aries. Opposite would be Libra. So we have our next full moon coming up on April 6th. Mark your calendar. We've got also in square, we've got anything in the late degrees of Gemini, early degrees of Cancer. So we'll have Mars squaring our Sun and Mercury pretty much the entire Aries season. And Mars rules Aries energy, so we do want to pay attention to that opposition of energy. Also in challenging position, we've got anything on the cusp of Sagittarius and Capricorn, which is fortunately nothing. Anything in this region is going to be in challenging position. 150 degrees, 180, 150. All right, in yellow we have our beneficial, so we've got, if this is 0, 60 degrees in this direction, 60 degrees in this direction, 90, 120, 150, 180. Get it? All right, cool. 30, 0, 30, 60, 90, 120, 150, 180. 60 degrees would be anything in this region. So during Aries season, we'll be in harmonic aspect to Pluto. And Mars just for a day or so until it moves into a more challenging aspect. Now this one here is from the perspective of Mars. So Mars at 28 degrees of Gemini and the early degrees of Cancer. So we'll cover the first week or so after. So anything on the cusp of Sag and Capricorn, which is fortunately nothing. And then we also have the cusp of Pisces and Aries, which right now is Neptune, Moon, Sun, and Mercury. Neptune, Moon, Sun, Mercury. Square Mars, so those will be blocks to our motivation and drive, intuition and creativity. But working in harmony with our motivation and drive, we have fated events affecting what we love and value. What we're collectively leaving behind, the South Node is over here heading on its way to Libra. It's always opposite the North Node. That's how I know that, even though it's not on the chart. And then also in trine to cusp of Virgo, Leo, and cusp of Aquarius, Pisces. So Saturn in trine. So karma and karmic lessons, working in harmony with one of the deliverers of karma, with our other deliverer of karma. Soon to be facing opposition with the other deliverer of karma. And in challenging position to the fated events affecting what we love and value, and our self-worth, and what we're collectively leaving behind. I'd say we're leaving behind the shadow of Scorpio, the victim playing, the manipulation. Now coming up on the horizon, Pluto's transition from 29 degrees of Capricorn in 2023 and into the early degrees of Aquarius. Now, Pluto has been at that 29th critical anaretic degree of Capricorn for quite some time, for all of 2023 so far. And that 29th critical degree, remember, brings on unexpected tower moments, just like Scorpio and Plutonic energy. This is bringing on a great reset, changing us from the inside out, revealing our deepest insecurities, and the depths of our psyches. This is going to be a 2-year cycle of beginnings and endings, as Pluto revisits that 29th and 0th degree point of both Capricorn and Aquarius. 2023 and 2024, before it finally makes forward progress. November 2024 for the next 20 years until 2043. Where Capricorn is the way we've always done things, our traditions, our power structures, our hierarchies, our boundaries. Pluto transforms and disrupts. It rebuilds from what's left of the ashes. Pluto in Capricorn transforms power and those who hold it, while Pluto in Aquarius transforms the collective unconscious and brings some of that power back onto the people. Where Pluto in Capricorn had us focused on power given to corporations, big business, politicians, the financially wealthy, Capricorn ruling over the economy, the stock market, power, hierarchies, structures. Pluto is transforming who has control over access to resources, especially energetic resources, and the power that control affords. As Pluto shifts into the early degrees of Aquarius, a fixed air sign ruling over advancements in technology, networks, social media, the World Wide Web, all chains of networks and communication, we'll see a shift in power back to the people and a more humanitarian focus. Transformations will be to more Aquarian themes: technology, innovation, environmentalism, human rights activism, the use of social media, for example, using it for the greater good versus as a means to waste time or check out from reality. On Thursday, March 23rd, 2023, Pluto begins its shift into 0 degrees of Aquarius. It will experience a series of retrogrades between Aquarius and Capricorn, 2023 and 2024, where it will enter and remain Aquarius finally on November 19th, 2024, and remain there until March 9th, 2043, which is about a 20-year next generational shift. This is a huge shift in energy. It's a reconfiguring of all things Capricornian since Pluto entered the sign of Capricorn back in 2008. The old way of doing things is disintegrating. Materialism and the American dream, we're becoming aware of all those shortcomings, especially concerning technology and the way we communicate with one another. Pluto delivers karma along with Mars. Pluto is the process of breakdown and destruction and reconstruction from the ashes to rebuild something new, even better than before. Pluto takes something, it crumbles it up, and it uses what it's crumbled up as fertilizer to rebuild something way better than existed in the first place. Capricorn and Aquarian energy are both Saturn-ruled signs, but Aquarius brings a slightly different flavor to the table. Aquarius has another ruler, Uranus, but Uranus wasn't discovered until 1781. Now coming up on the horizon, we have Mars entering Cancer on March 25th, 2023. And staying there until May 20th, 2023. While Mars transits the constellation of Cancer, we avoid a direct approach to going after what we want, and we can be a little bit more passive. Since Cancer energy is a cardinal water sign that is ruled by the moon, we may experience fluctuations to our motivation. This can cause our goals and plans to be subject to mood swings. Rather than being assertive like Aries, we may be more passive-aggressive and conflict avoidant like Cancer. Rather than being aggressive like Aries, we might be more on the defensive than usual. Mars is considered debilitated in the sign of Cancer. This means emotional self-regulation is going to be of the utmost importance right now, as much of what we'll do will depend on our current mood in each moment. So if we can easily navigate in and out of troublesome moods, we'll be just fine, and we'll be able to hold on to that motivation. There are also some gifts with Mars in Cancer. It's highly intuitive and motivated to take action that brings greater inner satisfaction, love, peace, comfort, and safety to our lives, especially regarding our homes, family, and close friends. Mars in Cancer is fiercely protective of its loved ones. It goes to bat for its loved ones, and it will always put its own egoic needs aside. On April 3rd, 2023, Mercury will leave 29 degrees of Aries for Taurus, where it will join Venus. On April 11th, 2023, Jupiter and the Sun align at 21 degrees of Aries. This will be a very lucky day. Chiron is also aligned at 16 degrees, but not as close. Some of these things I've been bringing up are healing or wounding. Maybe this will be an opportunity to really work through it and truly transmute that and heal it and put it behind ourselves for good. On April 19th and very early in the morning on April 20th, 2023, we have our second new moon in Aries at 12:12 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and it's a new moon solar eclipse. During that second new moon in Aries at 29 degrees, the Sun, Moon, and Jupiter will all be aligned between 23 and 29 degrees of Aries, while the Moon, Jupiter, and Chiron will be aligned between 16 and 23 degrees of Aries. On April 21st, 2023, and until May 14th this year, we have 3 Mercury retrogrades, just like we do every year. They're in Earth signs this year, the Earth energy. It's more cautious, more pragmatic, and it takes its time. Taurus is ruled by Venus, so this will be bringing us some tests to our self-worth, self-esteem, our access to food and resources, our ability to provide for self and others. It'll be asking us to release any over-attachment to money and the material realm. From August 23rd, 2023 until September 14th, 2023, we'll have Mercury retrograde through the sign of Virgo, which will be testing our commitment to our health and physical healing and our service. It's asking us to release any patterns of perfectionism, criticism, and unrealistic high expectation. From December 13th, 2023 until January 1st, 2024, we'll have a Mercury retrograde through Capricorn and Sagittarius. So we'll be bookending 2023 with Mercury retrogrades through the sign of Capricorn, revisiting those themes. 2024 will bring us 3 Mercury retrogrades through fire signs. From December 29th, 2022 until January 18th, 2023, we kicked off our year with a Mercury retrograde through Capricorn, which is why it was tough to get our New Year's resolutions going until now. This brought tests to our discipline, maturity, our career, and our public reputation, and asked us to release unrealistic high standards, criticism towards self and others, and any patterns of workaholism or over-attachment to status, wealth, and or the material realm. On May 16th, 2023, the Moon, Chiron, and Jupiter align between 19 and 29 degrees of Aries before Jupiter leaves Aries for Taurus for the next year transit. The focus there will be on long-term goals, family life, providing for oneself and one's legacy, and family planning. We'll be asking ourselves if the foundation we are building is aligned with our long-term goals and ambitions. What is calling you? What new business could you start? What self-imposed limitations do I need to release on the path to self-actualization? In what ways have I been avoiding directly communicating how I truly feel? And now for some crystal recommendations for Aries energy. We have the carnelian, promotes courage, confidence, willpower, protection, and creativity. Bloodstone, which promotes presence, persistence, and courage. Citrine, which promotes creativity and intellect. Rose quartz, which promotes self-worth, self-love, both of those so you can attract true love. Amber, which promotes relaxation and positive energy. And sunstone, which promotes energy, enthusiasm, and focus. Each and every month, the moon and her cycles afford us the opportunity to die to the old versions of ourselves and reemerge better, stronger, more aligned with our authentic soul purpose. The beauty of life is that we are all the mythological phoenix, undergoing an almost constant process of death and rebirth. Our thoughts control our emotions, which affect our behaviors and ultimately reality. Anything that's taking up too much real estate in your mind, it's time to let go of it. This is a wonderful opportunity to identify any potentially limiting thoughts and belief patterns that are keeping you small. This new moon in Aries, we will not become distracted. We refuse to give up. Embody that warrior and survival spirit. It's time to remove all self-imposed limitations and beliefs. It's time to create something that has never been done before. It's time to start that business. It's time to speak up about how you feel. Bulldoze and plow through limiting boundaries. Leave a comment below. I'd love to see what you'd like to see more of, what you connect with, any questions you may have for me, feedback. Keep it constructive. Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Your active engagement helps the messages within reach more people.